A hush has fallen over St. Catherine's ICU. For 7 long months, Marisol Ortega's body has hovered between life and death, her heart ticking like a distant metronome, her eyelids sealed against the world. Tonight, her desperate family turns to their final hope, a lone shaman rumoured to walk the razor-thin border between waking and oblivion. I have never feared the spaces between worlds, until tonight. Her name was Marisol Ortega, a 32-year-old teacher who had slipped into a coma after a car accident the previous autumn. For 7 months, she lay motionless in St. Catherine's ICU, her body sustained by machines, her mind silent. Her parents, devout Catholics, had exhausted every physician, every priest, every whisper of a miracle. At last they were led to me, a shaman, a walker between. When I entered her hospital room for the first time, the air tasted coppery and stale, as if breath itself had long since died there. A rosary dangled from her limp fingers. Her lips were cracked but smiling faintly, as though she were nodding to some unseen confidant. That smile alerted me. Coma victims rarely hold expressions. Something was working the muscles from the inside. I touched her wrist and felt it at once, a tug downward, a gravitational wrongness that didn't belong to flesh or bone. I looked at her parents. "She's far away," I said, "farther than most ever travel." "Can you get her back?" her mother whispered. "Maybe," I answered. "But if she has crossed into the other side, someone or something might claim her as its own." They still begged. And I, sworn to guide the lost, consented. At midnight we dimmed every fluorescent lamp. I scattered copal on a steel tray and let the smoke coil over Marisol's bed. On her forehead I painted the bridge glyph, 2 parallel lines with a single slash, invoking the corridor linking waking and dream. I inhaled the scent of burnt sage, felt my pulse slow, and pressed my thumb to the hollow of her throat. "The door is where the heartbeat and breath meet," my first teacher used to say. "Fall between those rhythms, and you will pass through." I let my own breathing sync with the faint beep of her cardiac monitor. Beep, 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 until the room dissolved into a hum. When I finally slipped across, it felt like diving backward through ice. Every nerve screamed, then went numb. I awoke in a landscape of endless dusk. Hospital machines towered like broken monoliths, their cables snaking into grey soil. In the distance, an enormous black tree rose, its branches crackling with static instead of leaves. Beneath the tree stood Marisol, barefoot, in the dress she had worn the day of the crash. She stared skyward, mesmerized by something unseen. I called her name. She did not flinch. I approached, and with each step the ground pulsed, bleeding dark fluid that smelled of formaldehyde. Waves of nausea rocked me, signs of a territory shaped by trauma. When I reached her, I placed a hand on her shoulder. Her flesh felt brittle, like warm porcelain. Finally she spoke, voice thin as radio static. "You're late." Before I could answer, a shadow detached from the bark behind her, tall, jointed wrong, a silhouette of negative light. 2 pinpoints gleamed where eyes should be. The thing exhaled, and the branches above us writhed. "She is promised," it hissed, not with sound, but with the vibration of marrow. "You trespass." I raised my rattle and shook it once. The beads inside are teeth of my ancestors. Their clatter splits lies from truth. "I am her guide," I declared. "She will decide, not you." Its laugh was the creak of coffins opening. The tree's trunk split like a mouth, and the ground swallowed us into darkness. Suddenly, I was no longer under open sky, but inside Marisol's memories. A family kitchen soaked in sunset light, the smell of cinnamon rolls, her little brother laughing. The scene felt warm, until every cupboard door slammed at once and rotted away to reveal crawling black vines. The shadow loomed again, larger now, feeding on her nostalgia like a lamprey. I realized its strategy: starve her of hope until all memories soured and she would surrender willingly. I had to outrun it, stitching together moments strong enough to lead her back. I seized Marisol's wrist and sprinted through the collapsing kitchen. Each doorway became another memory: her college graduation, a first kiss in winter rain, the joyous chaos of her classroom. Behind us, the shadow barreled through walls like a locomotive, turning laughter into screams, colour into rust. My lungs burned, though lungs were only an idea here. If it overtook us, I doubted I could protect either of us. We reached a corridor tiled in mirror glass, her late-night doubts, each panel reflecting a different fear. Classrooms empty, parents weeping, her own body wired to machines. The panels began to shatter, shards floating, angling toward us like blades. I drew a line of salt from my pouch and flung it in a circle. The mirrors recoiled. Salt, even metaphoric, is the bone of earth, and earth refuses lies. For a heartbeat we rested. I held her shoulders. Marisol, you are alive. Your parents are waiting. I hear them, she whispered, tears brimming. But he says they will forget soon. She pointed behind me. The shadow had reformed, now resembling a surgeon's silhouette, holding shears dripping with black ichor. Its voice slithered into our minds. Come, child, waking is pain. Here, pain is a dream. I felt her weakening. Desperation pried open my last resort. Among shamans, we warn never to bind a soul with your own life force, but sometimes risk is the only door left. I bit my thumb, letting 3 drops of blood fall onto the mirror floor. They flared crimson, weaving into a slender cord of living light that lashed itself around Marisol's wrist and around mine. Follow the thread, I commanded, no matter what hunts. I tugged, and the corridor shattered into wind-tunnel darkness. The cord yanked us upward through spirals of ash. Voices battered us. ICU chatter beeping monitors her mother's prayers, rising from the land of bodies. I glimpsed a faint aperture of daylight ahead, the threshold back to her flesh. But the shadow coiled around the blood thread like oil on water. Gnawing. The cord frayed. I felt my own heartbeat stutter. Each chew drained me. I braced my feet against nothingness and strained. For an instant, I saw Marisol's eyelids twitch in the world above. We were inches from victory. The entity snarled, and a rip opened below, revealing a pit of writhing replicas. Hundreds of Marisols tangled, each whispering defeat. The weight of them dragged her downward. I realized the evil did not intend simply to keep her. It meant to multiply despair, to feed on infinite copies. With a cry, I let the thread slacken around my wrist and wound it entirely around hers, sealing it with a sigil of surrender. My surrender. The moment I relinquished my end, the cord blazed and snapped upward, catapulting Marisol through the aperture. The shadow shrieked, a sound that blistered the mind, and lunged straight into me. Pain like cold fire flooded my veins. I felt my senses invert. Up became in, breath became silence. The last thing I heard was a chorus of alarms, machines in the ICU. Number they were inside me, warning of an impossible arrhythmia. I opened my eyes to a ceiling the color of winter milk. The smell of disinfectant burned my nostrils. Around me, voices exclaimed in Spanish and English, praising saints. Someone wept with joy. I tried to move, but discovered my limbs were statues. A doctor leaned over, shining a penlight into eyes not my own. Marisol, he asked, incredulous. I understood. She had awakened, using my view of the room. I, however, could not blink. Through a tunnel of muffled sound, I heard orderlies mention the shaman. I managed to angle my gaze just enough to see another bed beside ours. There I lay, my own body, eyes shut, chest rising only with the respirator's hiss. Tubes threaded my arms and electrodes mapped the stillness of my heart. A nurse crossed herself. "He just collapsed after the ritual," she whispered. "Went straight into a coma." A surge of triumph, not mine, bubbled inside me. The shadow had not been destroyed. It had relocated. I was its new vessel. Now I reside in a twilight scape carved from my personal memories. My childhood hut by the river rots beside me. The faces of my ancestors hang in the sky like smoldering stars, dimming one by one. And somewhere within this gloom stalks the entity, savoring its fresh dominion. Sometimes, through a crack in the ether, I glimpse Marisol sitting with her parents, laughing weakly, alive. She does not know I watch, does not hear me pound the glass between realms. That is my consolation. She walks in light again. But each passing hour, I feel my own will erode. The presence whispers new promises. It will not be content with just one shaman. It hungers for many souls. And I, its doorway, will soon oblige. If you find this account, know that I do not seek rescue. The bargain is sealed. Instead, remember, when you plead for miracles, weigh the cost carefully. There are routes back from the other side, yes, but every passage must be paid for, and the toll taker delights in clever currencies. My eyelids in the hospital may flutter. Doctors will speak of hopeful signs. Ignore them. What stirs behind my face is not the man who guided spirits for 30 years. He is here, in the dark, already fading. And something else, something patient and eternal, lies waiting to open my eyes into your world.